Welcome to the Kaikohe-Hokianga Board's July meeting. This morning we'll start off with our public forum as usual. We've only got a couple of people this morning, so I guess we can have a little bit of extra time, Sean. So would you like to join us and regale us with what's keeping you up at night?
A very apt description, Mr. Chairman. I raised this matter before, roadside mowing. In particular, the little incident down here at the end of Thorpe Road on Station Road, the end of Station Road on Thorpe Road. Actually, I know we went down there the other day, I called him and asked him when he finished, because it's in part of the contract. Mike Cole was to sort this out for me many years ago, but it hasn't been mowed. He did one mow, cast the stuff onto the uncut grass, and it's that long, and took off. That kind of neglect and sloppiness is not good enough. It wouldn't happen here, it's not going to happen here. And I'd like something tidied up about it fairly quick. It shouldn't happen. The other matter that I've got to report on, the Highway Community Group met last night. Thank you for the support that you had for that sign on Footpaths Drive. But they'd like to point out to you that the sign still has not yet been put up. Could have been expedited as a matter of urgency. Other than that, that little community is thriving, and they put it their community meeting as their agenda report. It's quite exciting. I'll leave it with you.
No, that's issue.
Because it's actually a good example of how a community can and should run.
Cool. Okay, stay there, Sean. We're going to ask you questions. Got any questions for Sean?
It sounds like responsible service.
Yeah.
Have you done responsible service? Have you done responsible service?
Yes, long ago.
For those two things. Okay, so you got the numbers, and so how long ago? What have you got a response from either of them?
On the roadside mowing, I think it's months and months ago. I've actually even spoken to Sean Clark about it.
And what did he say? Because I don't know that we can do any more.
I've written him a letter about it.
Okay, and what did he say?
Oh,
okay, so I don't know if we can help more than that. But the Tamati Drive one, you put it in have the residents put in a request for service for that?
They did that, and they got confirmation that they could have the sign, and the council would pay for the sign to go up, but it still hasn't been done.
Okay, the best thing to do is put a RFS at the front desk saying when can it be done. That's the best way.
Yeah, I'll tell Tracy that, and she can look after it.
Press up.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a spare card here for him if he wants. Yeah, a spare card here if he wants.
I had
that one.
Oh yeah, you know we saw those. Extra.
Sure, these are the new ones. These are the corrected versions.
Yeah. Sure, some of the complaints you put in the past included stormwater and flooding. With this recent rain you've had, have you noticed any flooding? Or has that been fixed?
I haven't noticed anything untoward, except I didn't notice a street sweeper truck around for the first time in years, so maybe something's happening. Good for the town.
Yep.
But that sweeper truck should make more and more visits to the town. I did take a photo, and I can't show it to you today, but when grass goes that long in a gutter, concrete, that shows the neglect that we've been putting up with. And the only other thing that I'm really hot about, that footpath from the town to the showgrounds. To me, that's a matter of urgency, because it's accidents waiting to happen. The showgrounds, the racetrack, cemetery, and now Marfar Park, that footpath has to be upgraded to something a little bit faster than what it has been.
Cool. And in your opinion, what's more important, the footpath to the cemetery of Mangakahi Road or the footpath on the main road?
6,500. The one down below the Marai, it should go over a hump people coming back from the cemetery are invisible to somebody going south. That's an accident waiting to happen. I'm not quite sure whether that's more urgent than this one, but both situations are intolerable. And as I've said before, that wouldn't happen in Kerikeri, it's not going to happen here.
A couple of questions.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay, with regard to the footpaths, this footpath has got a burn for people to walk on at the present. Like in Rawene, it's footpaths without burns and people are actually forced to walk on the road. So do you think Rawene has got a higher priority in Kaikohe? Like there's a lot of priorities right around the district.
This Western Ward has historically been a little bit down the list compared to other areas. And the whole issue of priorities is quite a touchy one, but at the same time, population numbers indicate Kaikohe has a better priority than Rawene.
Yeah.
That's on the population basis.
Another question with regard to your RFSs. Are other people putting in RFSs for the same issue? Like just to give you an example, we had complaints in Rawene about the footpaths not being maintained, and they have been maintained for a year. It's now on their schedule and they're now doing it because a whole lot of people put in requests for services.
Actually, you've given me an idea. We can
Get the town mobilised.
organise that.
Good.
And one more thing, Sean, off topic. But what do you think of the idea of finding people for warrant fitnesses in Kaikohe?
To me, it's a necessity because an unwarranted unregistered vehicle is a liability to everybody, but the council should not be collecting government revenues.
Okay.
Two issues here. You can look after your town. You don't want those parts here, but you shouldn't be doing a government job.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Then
That's it.
that's a good thing.
Nice to see you again.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Sean raised about the marae and Maokaya Road. Way back, we tried to get a right-hand turn into the marae, and that's when it was council road. It's now a state highway.
Yeah.
So there may be possible that we actually go to the transport agency and say, it is quite dangerous.
Yeah.
As Sean said, well, they come up over the hill.
Yeah.
They're doing 100k, the chances of stopping and somebody putting right hand on the right. If there was a right-hand turn lane, and I offered them the land, but nothing happened. But now it's a state highway. There is a possibility.
So I wonder, Laurie,
Because it is quite dangerous.
I wonder whether or not it's worth getting representatives from the community coming in and telling us that, and then we act on it. I mean, it would be nothing for us to.
Yeah, well, Ted works here, so Ted could come and tell us.
That might be the best way. You want to, next time you see him, just come on in and maybe a public forum and we'll take it up.
Yeah, now it's a...
Some of them are right.
It's cool. Okay, thanks, Laurie.
Right.
Bodine, would you like to come in now?
Bring my boy because his home based daycare teacher's for the rest of this week, so he's coming to support.
What's his name?
Sovereign.
Hello, Sovereign. How are you?
So he's coming to support. Kia ora, my name is Bodine Stevens. I'm the CEO and director of Hush Dance Studio, and I've also become a charitable trust as well, so I'm treasurer and trustee of Hope Unity Street Order. I just done these little handouts because this is what we instill in our trust and our studio and in our showcase that we are holding this Saturday here at the Memorial Hall. So these are our mission and vision: provide an environment that encourages growth and creativity, that nurtures future community leaders. Every week, this form here, we read it out at our meetings, just so we keep reminding ourselves of our purpose, our goals for our staff, our students, our whānau and community. Within the showcase this Saturday, it's a showcase and dinner, so we've got 3-course meals while they watch our kids perform, and we also have the kura kaupapa kapahaka performing as our opening showcase. They came first in regionals kapahaka this year, and they'll be performing their racket. And we're just embracing creativity. I've also got 3 training teachers that are teenagers. They're 14, 15, 16. I've taught them since they're young, and I've been training them for a year now. And this year they've gone to be employed with us as training teachers. And because I'm hapu, we got funded from you last time, but I couldn't make it because I was in hospital with this one, as I had at 25 weeks of my pregnancy, so I had them very prim, and I couldn't make it to the board meeting, so I sent a presentation. And I'm hapu again, so these 3 teachers have made this showcase. They've done all the choreography, the music, teaching the students. With me there, I'm directing on course and overlooking everything, but without these 3 teenage teachers, this showcase couldn't happen, and they're looking at the kids, our dancers. So just embrace creativity. That's what we'll be doing this weekend at our showcase. We have our Hush ABCs that we instilled everywhere: awesome attitude, bully-free behaviour and confidence. We see heaps of our kids come in, some are too shy, or some are crying outside with the parents. Give them a couple of weeks and they're up and fighting to be in front of the stage. So that's the sort of confidence that we've been seeing in each and one of our kids. We have up to 50 students from 4 years old to 16. And so those are our Hush ABCs. We create opportunities. So they've competed in numerous places: Nelson, Hamilton, Tauranga, Auckland, Kaiwaka, Whangarei in Sydney, Australia. They got to train for 2 weeks in Los Angeles, their top dance studios. Also performed at Disneyland and on the Hollywood.
Excuse me for a minute, you better watch that water, because he's taken the glasses.
Oh.
No, it's the water. It's the water that put the water out on the table.
Oh, hold on.
Put it on the...
Okay. All right. And at Disneyland and on the Hollywood Boulevard. And we also offer training and employment to our students. Come here. Sorry. Didn't work.
We go.
Right, yeah.
Looks like a future coach's
Let him
thing.
play. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a 14-year-old cleaner as well. He comes in a couple of hours a week. His name's Jojo Edmonds. And there was just a little opportunity to give to him as he wanted to make extra money. And it's been cool to be able to employ these youth. Our 3 dance teachers are Talia McGee, Hāteola Louis, and Tima Maiho Leewai, all from here, Kaikohe. And they've been dancing for about 6 years. And we also get to bring top choreographers to Kaikohe to do dance shops with our kids. So that's our creating opportunity and nurturing future leaders. These are our young teachers teaching our kids for this weekend's showcase. So that's through us nurturing our future leaders. And you have seen my application. And we have been funded by you guys before, and we're very appreciative of that. And yeah, we're just looking forward to this Saturday event. It's fine. Please, have any questions?
Right, any questions? Okay, we'll start with Emma.
I think you're doing a fantastic job, especially for our youth. Maybe it should be transferred to the older group as well. Have you thought about that?
Transfer to the, like older classes?
Yeah, to
Yes,
older classes.
we actually do ladies classes, but we haven't done older ones because my nan, Bella Edmonds, she wants to do classes as well. But the thing is, what a couple said was just our stairs going up into our studio is quite hard because we're upstairs, quite hard for our ones. So it'd be cool for us to go into the old people's home and maybe teach them. So yeah, that's definitely
What about for some not so old, like John and I?
yeah.
Do you have classes for us?
No, we don't at the moment, but we could. Because we're
How many?
I'll say to come and watch.
How many students would you have to make a class?
in a class.
Yeah, no, so if we had a whole bunch of people my age.
Well, we probably like 20 to 30 in a class that could fit at our studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
We've got 4, yeah, 6 people normal, yeah.
It's not going to be about what time you're booking me in for lessons, but really, I think this is great. Your mission up the front is great. Now, sports is well known, and this is like a sports for creating, positive health outcomes, positive attitudes, which you've got. I noticed you've got the attitudes here, which is, and also, giving hope for the future and confidence. Have you actually asked the parents of these? Have you asked the parents for feedback? Because
Yes.
and you haven't got feedback?
I should have.
It'd be nice to actually.
No, because we do have feedback forms. That's what I should have given though. But we do them so this week they got their feedback forms to give us. We do it at the end of the term, of every term. And so that's just how we could improve and hush. What is going good for them, how their kids liking it, and I could say we have about 15 that come in because they come up into the kitchen and write their feedback. We had about 15 feedback forms coming, and they were all good. There was only like a few little recommendations. Was asking for private classes, which we do now at this term. Asking for private classes and if they can get the information sent out on email as well, because we have group messengers. So those little changes have been made this term. But the most important thing that I read out was the confidence building in our kids. There's heaps of our kids, they all don't want to be dancers, but they come in 3 of them from the Kaikohe-Hokianga, they said they love coming every week because it builds their confidence for kapahaka, which is a cool thing as well. So yeah, those were, most of our feedback was the confidence and just how they feel like it's a whānau environment when they come in. And that's also something I talk to our staff about, is that if we got one person coming in for an hour, let's make it the best hour of their lives, because we don't know what's happening in their own homes or at school. So we want them to come in and have their best time, and, and to want to come back for that. So yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I've got a question. Relates to the funding things, like you want something like 5,000.
Yeah.
But you need about 10,000. How are you going to make up the shortfall? Are you charging people, or are you?
Yes. So on our application, this is the most expensive. We've actually had our tickets and showcase. They're usually like $5 a ticket, but this one we had to bring it. So we've got tables, gold tables, and they're $1,000, but that's for 10 people, and that's a 3-course meal each. And most of our whānaus couldn't do gold tables, but we've managed to get 11 gold tables, so that's quite, huge, a big help.
You've got them filled already?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because we usually do door sales now, but we had to do limited seating because there's only 200 seats, I believe, in the Memorial Hall. So we've done that, and we've just really brought in the professionals. So we've got Untitled Chapter, our local event planning, that stays up here in them. And I just told her when they walk in, I want them to be like in another world and something so special for our kids, because we've been doing these showcases for 6 years now, and this will be our biggest. Then we've got Tough Pie Catering, so that's Aroha Tahiri and her crew doing our 3-course meals for everyone. We've also, for our standard seats, we've got 90 standard seats gone. I think 30 of them are free because they're under 5, but that's for our whānaus. We've got some grazing tables for them that they can help, so they're eating as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we've done. And
there was another part of the question. Have you looked to other sources for funding, like Creative New Zealand and things like that? There are other funding sources that you can get money from too.
oh yes, what's that?
It's the time frame.
Yeah.
The event is before they're closing, so they're not eligible.
Okay, thank you.
What are the tickets for this Saturday?
Pardon?
What are the tickets
The
worth?
tickets are for, if they're parents and siblings of our children, they're half price, but for actual full price is $20 for an adult, $10 for the
Pretty good
kids.
for the meal as well. Does that include?
Oh no, sorry, they pay an extra $5 for the pipe. So that's like grazing tables that they get.
Yeah.
Awful.
Kia ora, Waiting. I forgot what my question was, but I'm just looking here. I think that in your application you've got down for equipment hire is only about 25, but uncommon collective is like four grand.
Yes, 448.
So your costs are
I took
actually
away
higher.
Oh, yeah, I took away their labour because it was 600. I just thought it was just the equipment too.
Oh yeah, not the
Yeah, not the.
mahi for
Yeah.
stuff and all that. Oh yeah, that was that difference. But otherwise, like we've got kids at Kura that are a part of that Talia.
Yeah, and like if I have
So that's really great to hear how you're growing our kids to actually teach and to carry it on. It's sustainable, which is really cool. It sounds like a really great event. If this community board didn't fully fund what you're requesting, what are your levels of tolerance for shortfalls in funding and stuff like that? Like what would the trust do in that instance?
we would, well, the tickets and that helps cover those costs, like covering most of those important tasks. We might need to take away some of the ask to Barney's to come in to do the
So if you don't get fully funding, you'll have to pull back on some of the things.
pull back on some of them, and which will be.
Can I just ask one more question? Are all the gold tables full?
Yes.
They're all gone?
Yeah.
Because I was going to put a suggestion in that.
She dressed in gold.
Hey, I also sent an invitation to the district council too for
I wasn't actually going to put a suggestion in that, our community board
Yeah.
have one table.
Oh, yeah,
But
we could put yous in.
Squeeze in.
That would be cool just for you,
I
Stan.
think that your application just went up by 100.
We
But
have the dance as well.
that would be cool just for you to experience it all.
I think it'll be good for us as well.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon?
Yeah.
We can discuss that later.
Especially when we
We'll
get
talk,
jobs.
we'll talk about that later, and then your number's here so we can
Yes.
keep in contact with you. Kia ora.
Cool. Kia ora, thank you.
Cool, thank you very much.
That's lovely. I'll be a starter.
Apologies, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay, right, let's get the item number 5, confirmation of previous minutes. Okay, so are there any more corrections to be had? No more corrections?
Not corrections as such, but I'm a bit concerned that some of the things that we agreed upon aren't happening,
Okay, so that's a different topic. We can get over. Well, I'll give you a few moments to mention those at the end, Louis. So in that case, the motion to be put is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board confirms the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of June 2021 as a true correct record. All those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Right. Louis, I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, the item relating to footpaths, it's been left lie on the table, and it was pending the visit of a workshop with Sandy Morris.
Okay, right. So why don't let's deal with that as an item.
Okay.
It's left lie on the table, which means it can be brought up at any stage. Do you wish that motion to be brought up?
Yeah, I'd like to sort of see where that's at and what we can do about sort of progressing it.
Okay, so member Louis Kurenberg moves that the motion, the item left on the table at the last meeting regarding the Kaikohe-Hokianga football footpath program be brought up. Do I have a second? Yep. Okay, all those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Okay, so Louis, away you go.
Well, you know, like I'm sure these things are all time sensitive. You know, they're like, if we don't pick up this funding that's available, we might be pushed over into next year. I think, you know, and that's why we had planned a workshop on the 14th of June, which never happened, which is a pity. So how can we sort of bring this further up? I'd like to see this discussed. I'd like to see us setting our list of priorities. Do we need the Northland Transport Alliance to be part of that discussion? How do we get this brought forward?
Great questions. Right, anybody else got anything to say? And we'll get on to those in a minute.
Why was that workshop on the 40th not going ahead?
We don't know. I've written to the CE asking for him to express concern to the NTA. The Calvin from the NTA came to a community board workshop and he basically said that we were in the wrong and blamed Democracy Services for the mix-up. Yet it was quite clear from our meeting the community board has delegations for the footpaths, so it's in our hands. I presume the representative from the NTA has the ability to set their own calendar. I can't imagine that a person of that stature is unable to set their own calendar, and we negotiated on the day in good faith for a time, a date and a location, and they didn't turn up. And in further conversation with Calvin, he blamed us. The blame was so rambling, I can't tell you what he actually said, but he was quite angry at the time. And I think if he'd been allowed to use expletives, he would have. He blamed Democracy Services. And then I wrote to the CEO of the Far North District Council asking for an explanation. He passed it on to Calvin, and I understand Calvin replied, but we haven't heard back from the CEO. So it looks like the entire organisation in the FNDC and NTA are running their lives on something as simple as setting up a meeting and a workshop to deal with time-sensitive matters with the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board. Does that answer your question?
Excellent, thanks.
And does it answer your question, Louis?
Well, yeah, it sort of answers why that meeting wasn't held, although Sandy at that meeting, we chose the date because of her availability.
I know we did.
So, you know, why?
And the venue actually set up ready for the workshop.
Did the council get charged for the venue? Sure.
It was only, I was just about to walk out the door when I got a call.
Oh, look, I put my day aside for that.
So
Yeah, I had bigger things to do. Yeah, you're
So
right.
going forward, Mr. Chair, do we need a motion on the table?
Well, I don't know that we can pass this motion, right? Because
Okay.
No, because we were waiting for them
Can we
to give
pass
us
another
a
one?
proper list.
yeah.
Because they only told us those were the only footpaths that we had.
Well, I'm happy with the list. because this was discussed at a workshop.
But as I pointed out to you, Louis,
Yeah,
the delegation lies with the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board, no other body. Okay, so wherever this workshop was, whoever organised it, if it wasn't organised with the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board, then it was incorrectly organised. Okay, and they had no right and no delegations. I mean, the delegations in the Local Government Act are pretty damn clear. Okay, if you've delegated something to somebody, only they can make a decision. Okay, nobody else can make that decision. The decision has been taken off those who are delegated to the delegatees.
So why do we bother to coming to combined community board meetings, which is where this was at?
Well, whoever brought it to that combined community board meeting was incorrect. We use combined community board meetings for training and for other non-community board stuff or wider stuff, that no decision making. So it was incorrect and a failure of process and probably a failure of understanding of the basics of the Local Government Act to bring it to that body.
So now this whole process was brought up with all the 3 community boards separately to discuss their options. And so all the decisions that have come out of this process are all invalid and incorrect. Is that what you're sort of saying? Because some of the other community boards would say, oh yeah, we want this to happen and this to happen and this to happen.
And if they agree with that in their meeting as a community board, then that's fine. Okay, but we haven't done that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if it's kind of like going to your little sister, right? I mean, if the council had gone to Adele's and Belinda's little sisters, and the little sisters had said yes, okay, and then they brought it back to the meeting and everybody agreed with the little sister, then effectively the delegated board, okay, has agreed with the decision. Okay? In our case, we never did that.
Well, I'm not happy with the whole process.
No,
it's incorrect. It's put us on the back foot, and we may lose funding to do these footpaths. And we've missed out on this funding for so many years that when this funding is available, everybody should be helping us get this thing off the ground.
I will remind the community board that in the decade before the last community board, okay, almost no footpaths were built in the Kaikohe-Hokianga ward.
Even though there was funding put aside of $150,000 a year, it wasn't spent in the Hokianga.
That's right.
Or Kaikohe.
So we were not only are we now missing out or threat miss out on our current funding, but we never got made up for the previous 10 years.
I know. We missed out on nearly $1 million of funding for footpaths in our ward.
So yes. We're kicking the can down the thing. So, Mr. Chair, going forward, then that's what I said. I'm not saying pass this motion, but I'm saying that is there another motion we put on the table requesting, say, formally requesting a date for the workshop and the information I believe you actually asked for to be at that workshop. So I'm asking the question: what motion do we discuss this, or do we put a motion forward?
I think we should ask for an information and a workshop, I guess. I'm not quite sure who that goes to. I mean, given that NPA.
It will have to go to Calvin if he was the one who spoke on behalf of Sandy Morris.
It will go through this.
Democracy Services.
Go through wherever. Sure.
Okay, so I think probably the best thing to do. Sorry, the only thing we can do with this motion is to lie it on the table again.
Look, I'm not really happy about that. Like we were given this matrix on what was proposed, and it had the green lights on these things.
Okay, when were you given it?
I know at that meeting that you guys weren't at.
So you can keep bringing it up time and time again, but it's like saying that was given to your little sister, okay, and she agreed, okay. Why? And so what's keeping us? That your little sister and the combined community board meeting that you were at and we weren't is not delegated. It had not been delegated those authorities. Therefore, you do not get to make those decisions.
Yep, okay.
And I think we also need to be fair to the whole of the district. We should not just be worrying one side. We should be fair to the whole of the district. At the moment, Kaikohe has been missed out. And I think we need to put in a new motion to say, when are we going to get this next meeting? But I think council has to work out, who does NZTA come under? Do they come under us? Or do they come under their own?
NZTA is a separate organisation.
NTA.
Or NTA.
Northern Transport Alliance is what I'm talking about. And they come under a combined, with the 3 or 4 actually, councils, and the C's, the chairman, they're answerable for them. But certainly we can make a request, but besides the point is what the chair said before, we've been delegated authority, and no one else can actually make those decisions. They have to come to the community board. So we need to move on and crack on.
They shouldn't undermine us then.
To actually set the date and set it and with urgency, and then see the full matrix and make a decision.
Okay, so you're going to flag a motion to be made in that respect.
Yeah, unless there is a better.
Hang on, no. So what we'll do is I move that we relay this on, we put this item delay on the table again. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
All those in favour?
Right.
Aye.
You're against, that's cool.
I'm against.
So we
Okay, so now.
uplifted it and now we're leaving it to
Yeah,
lie.
that's right, okay. But there was a,
Can we do it?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
when
I only had
effectively-
2 people saying it's for it, so.
so you want to count it up, sorry? You want?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, all those, hands up for those that lie this particular motion on the table. Okay, any against? Okay, right. Okay, so now we get to the crux of the matter. What are we going to do about this?
I'd like to know what's happened with, what other community boards have done or achieved that we've missed out on now, so far. Like they would have made decisions on their priorities and things like that.
Mr. Chair, I think in the workshop that would come out, we can answer those questions.
Well, actually, interestingly, we had a meeting the other day, and I don't know who they're referring to, but I think one of the staff members said that 2 community boards had asked for further workshops, and I don't know whether or not they meant this community board or not. I think the person making the claims didn't really know what she was talking about,
They took a copy of that real killings. What's happened to that?
That's what they were supposed to bring back to the
Yeah,
workshop.
that's
Yeah.
They took all of our footpaths off the matrix and only left those ones on there and removed all of these other ones, and these are the ones that actually came to our board.
So I mean, I'm a bit disappointed, Louis, to be quite honest, that the area, the only area that has footpaths would try to deny all of the Western Ward a proper talk about this. I mean, that was.
Oh,
So we need to talk about this. We just can't pass this because this has been done incorrectly.
yep.
So I think what we need to move is something that's specific and gets action along the
Okay.
lines.
So how about we express our bit of disappointment and not having workshop.
Utter disgust.
Sorry.
Utter disgust.
Okay.
Utter disappointment.
Okay. So you'd like to move utter disgust?
No, it doesn't matter. I just
Okay.
peeved off.
Why did that engineer come back here?
I agree. That's right. That's what we need, Louis. Sorry, Laurie. Okay, so member of usage moves that the board express bitter disappointment at the failure to hold a workshop and the failure to communicate why the workshop wasn't held, and that we request a workshop
And the failure to follow the delegations.
and the failure to follow delegations.
And
request that the FNDC or the NPA has
I cannot type that fast.
Okay, what do you got to say now?
Expresses bitter disappointment at the failure to hold a workshop, the failure to follow delegations, and
to communicate fully why our workshop wasn't held.
to communicate fully why the workshop wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
We just go directly to the CEO.
we did. And request that a workshop be held
There's not that much.
to
There's not that much money in the fund.
discuss footpath priorities with the
There's only
Kaikohe-Hokianga.
150,000.
So I've got requests,
Plus.
the CEO arrange a workshop with Northland Transport Alliance to deal with time-sensitive footpath
Yeah,
program
that's exactly what he said, yes.
within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, just don't set the time.
No time?
Yeah, but with.
It is time sensitive,
With
by the way.
urgency time sensitive.
It's very urgent,
It's urgent, so we request
you know,
urgently, the meeting say something like
Oh,
that.
look, okay, so do I have a second on that?
Is there another index? Did you request information that they haven't supplied? Should we add that in there as well?
Correct.
What information was that?
from the CEO.
Through the chair,
Before footnote
the full matrix, with all of the footpaths back on it.
I think I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm a bit struck.
I thought they were going to bring it to the workshop.
Yeah, so can we not mention it specifically to bring to the workshop for matrix list?
Well, surely they could get it to us before the workshop,
Before
so
the
that we
workshop.
can make sure that they.
Oh, look, I think that's probably a negotiation.
At the workshop, there was Emma, myself and Helen there, and the person who delivered it was Keith Kent.
Yeah.
And he sort of said, well, there's a new lady lady coming in, she will be talking to the board itself about these things.
Yeah, cool.
And that's what happened at that workshop. But we were aware, and I asked the question, does that mean all the ones in green are happening? And he sort of said, yes, it's likely.
Okay, right. Once again, look, I don't know how many times I need to remind you.
I know, but I just,
Okay.
the whole footpath issue in the Hokianga is frustrating.
Okay, and in Kaikohe. Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, I know that you think you only represent Hokianga, but that's not the case. You represent
Well, I
everything
advocate on behalf
of the whole Western Ward.
I advocate on those people.
Okay, so the motion is okay, so no, it was moved by
Louis?
no,
John.
John, yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't got a second yet. Do I have a seconder?
I'll
Or
second
if Emma, the community board expresses bitter disappointment. Okay, expresses bitter disappointment that the NTA failed to hold a workshop, failed to follow the allegations and communicate fully why the workshop wasn't held, and the request CEO arrange a workshop with Northern Transport Alliance to deal with time-sensitive footpath program.
The request the CEO urgently.
Oh, urgently.
Got it?
Urgently arrange. Okay, right. John, do you wish to speak to that? We've got a seconder.
It's all been said, I think, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else want to say anything? All those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried.
Carried.
Okay, right. Alan, I think you said you had something you wanted to discuss that was time sensitive regarding previous.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you briefly tell us what it is and
Okay. In Opanoni Township, where the Foursquare and Landings Cafe is, an art gallery, car park area, there's notable putakawa trees along the main road esplanade, and there used to be sandbagging along there, but what happened was NZTA contractors started spraying the grass that was sown on the sandbags. Now they've deteriorated and vehicles are driving up on the roots of the putakawa trees.
okay, right, I'll take them here.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the 28th of April, on the 7th of April, we resolved to deal with it. So we resolved to ask the CEO or the council to deal with it quickly. On the 28th of April, 3 weeks later, it was assigned to a staff member, and the 13th of May, it was reassigned to another staff member. So we've had 13th of May, it's now May, June, July, 2 months. I mean, you haven't heard nothing?
No.
Okay, so how does the community board, and it's kind of urgent, right? Because I mean, every month.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can, because it's not on the agenda, we normally can't deal with it. However, if it's urgent, all we've got to do is explain why it's not on the agenda. Well, we didn't know, and secondly, why it can't wait. And it's a health of the trees, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to move in this case that the community board deal with the putakawa issue under section 26 of the Local Government Information Act.
And I'll second it.
Okay, anybody want to speak against that? All those in favour?
Aye.
Okay, right. So let's have that discussion about what you want to do, and then put a quick resolution as to what we're going to do.
Right, they either need sandbags reinstated back there, grass sown on the verge, then there needs to be signs instructing the spray contractor do not spray this verge. And that will stop vehicles going up onto that verge, onto the roots of the trees.
There used to be yellow lines painted on the road to show that people, no parking, but sand moves across the road and covers those things. Those roots are in danger with the wetter weather here. That's going to turn into a muddy quagmire down there. We need to protect those trees.
Effectively, I can add to that. Look, there's no doubt that something needs to be done urgently, Mr. Chair, and creating a quagmire, potentially suffocating the roots, you put the whole trees at risk. They're notable trees. So we need to do action. I note that though, Mr Chair, that on the 7th of April we made a request.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have again a motion maybe from Alan saying requesting an urgent action, to remedy this situation, or we risk losing the trees. And
well, we've requested the action. We could merely point back to the original resolution, say, look, we made a resolution on the 7th of June, sorry, 7th of April. We've heard nothing. We request urgent information and urgent action, and to prevent further damage to these trees.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so the motion from Alan becomes that the community board reminds the CEO of our motion of the 7th of April regarding the Pūtakawa trees. Because remember, we spoke to the CEO the month before this, and he was going to get onto it, remember?
Yep.
In March of the motion, and would like a report. So would like information as to its progress, and for urgent action to be undertaken to protect the trees. Do I have a seconder?
Mr Chairman, this is just slow bureaucratic.
Yes, it is.
It is.
The best element, meet them on site. You've got NZTA, you've got council, and nothing happening for what, 3 or 4 months?
Yep.
Best you meet them on site and say, look, this is what's happening.
We can't even get them on site. That's the problem.
For us just to sit around here, with nothing going to happen. But if we can organise a meeting on site, then something will be done.
Sorry, I tend to agree with you, but really we can't even get to chance of requests to get them on the site. Not going to likely happen.
Why not?
I would suggest.
Why not?
I would suggest.
It's just bloody bureaucracy.
It is. It is.
I don't accept
Well,
it.
it's really going to be separate.
I would be happy to use my full drive, come along with the trailer, and let's do some sandbagging and let them know that that's going to happen. I've got a high-vis jacket, I'm sure we can do something.
Can we take some funding money, Catherine, and just do this?
We've got 20 grand that we could spend on a specific project.
We have, Mr Chair, but what the motion was put, we need that answer on that.
Yes.
That gives us the mandate to say you are incapable, whatever that's going back of delivering on an urgent project.
Yeah.
And we'll then take matters into our own hands, which since we got the delegated authority.
Because remember, Laurie, I guess my answer to that is that the staff will just come back and say you didn't do it properly. Okay, and this is the proper part of it, right? We make a motion, we say.
I'm not saying that we should do it, but meet them on site and say, right, listen, this is the problem, and we've waited 4 months now and you've done nothing. I went to see for John Clarisic. I went to a planner in Kerikeri, drove there, and got told I would have to make an appointment. I'm still waiting to hear from them over his submission to our community board. And it is serious that Hokianga in a haka is just washing away with these big storms.
Exactly.
And if you just keep waiting, it'll cost more and more. It happened in Pai here, next to the bridge.
I guess the other thing, Laurie, is that having a paper trail like this.
Oh, no,
Okay,
no problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, because what it does, it gives strength to the Ngāi Mahuta's argument that the council is inept and can't do the job that they've been given, right?
Yeah, well, we need to meet them on site with the engineer.
So in the motion then, do you want to actually say we will be on site and set a date?
Yeah, set a date, ask them for a meeting on site.
Oh, look, what we'll do is we'll delegate authority to Alan to personally contact the CEO to arrange a meeting on site. You okay with that, Alan? Yeah. So effectively, you'll have the authority of the community board to ask for a meeting. How's that?
Yeah, and so that's another end that to it.
Yeah, and that. Can you?
When we had Colin Dale as our CEO, we had regular, every 2 or 3 months, summit meetings in Opanoni with the various authorities, the NZTA, Northland Inc., a whole lot, regional council, a whole lot of groups came together once a month, including some of the local people that were on the ratepayers. And that's how the decision was made last time to do it, and it was done. And that was what came up. We talked about putting a rock wall along there. NZTA wasn't happy with that because it would create possible accidents, people, damage to people's cars. So this option of the sandbags was done. Previously we were able to get things done through the summit meetings. Now, and without even going through the community board or council, things were getting done because there was a will to get these things done. Is there a way of getting that will back?
I think the problem is with MTA. Since that's come in, they don't seem to come under that FNDC.
Oh, they do.
They do.
Well, that's the impression I get.
No, they do. There's no problem.
Sounds to through the city. And so I won't put that additional in that text, Laurie. I'd say that.
Okay, so the motion was
Aaron.
and that Alan, that the community board delegate authority to member Alan Hessel to request a on-site meeting from the CEO through the CEO.
The acting CEO, I think, is Andy Finch.
But through the CEO is fine. Okay, so everybody happy with that agenda? Sorry, that amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, right, cool. Okay, any further discussion on that item before we put it to bed?
I'm just wondering how we can fit in Freeze Park, because that's another area of concern that's not happening.
Oh, look, that's probably getting a little bit out of what I can.
Yeah, I know.
What I can allow to
I'm just pushing.
Yeah, I know, and I'm going to push back.
Okay. And Alan can raise whatever he raises when he's talking about.
Okay, all those in favour of that resolution?
Aye.
Anybody against? Carried. Okay. All right, back to our meeting. Okay, reports 6.1, page 17. How are you feeling, Kelly?
Yeah, I can wait half an hour.
Okay, do I have a motion for this, please?
I had chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay, Louis moves that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receives the report Kaikohe-Hokianga Statement of the Community Board Fund Account as at the 31st of May 2021. Do I have a seconder?
Yep.
Okay, right, discussion.
Are the unspent money being picked up?
Which bits do you mean by unspent?
Well, they're like sort of people that have uplifted their funds.
We do go through and chase it. I'm doing final records of chasing now for the year, saying if you don't pick it up, you will lose it. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, so
just one further question. And where does that leave that unspent funds? Do we have to commit that to something else?
we did. At the last meeting, we did.
Okay, so that would just go back into the kitty, and that's okay. Thank you.
Catherine.
Yes.
One of the funding stuff we put aside to commit was for the Outward Bound.
Yep, $6,000.
Okay, and there was a promise that we would get a application for that funding. And also the policy says that they require an application. I know we put it aside, but we didn't get the application.
I haven't seen one yet.
Okay.
I will chase that up with.
When is the Outward Bound course?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'd hate for it to come in post, wouldn't you? Because that would also be double our policy.
It would. I really do need to chase it because I don't know where that one's sitting at the moment. So.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Or sorry, comments? No, all those in favour? Right. Anybody against? Carried. Okay, so 6.2, funding applications. Do I have any motions on this?
Can we move one with the blank and one with the amount?
You can do it however you want, and you can even do it separate. So would you like to move the second one just bang?
Yeah.
Okay, so member Van Galen moves that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approves the sum of $425 to be paid from the board's community fund to Ohio Community Association for costs towards signage repair to support the following community outcomes. Communities that are healthy, safe, connected, sustainable, proud, vibrant communities. Do I have a second? Any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, when I read it, I just wondered, we're going to give them that sort of money, and I've got no problem with that. But when I went through this here, what's to stop it happening again? And I was wondering whether they should have a little bit more money to have a higher pole so it's beyond the little vandals.
That is a great comment. That's a great comment, Laurie. In fact, that's the same comment I made to them when I was at their meeting.
To me, you're going to do the same thing again, and I've got no problem with what they've requested.
Yeah.
But if you have a look at the photo of it, it's sort of low on the ground.
It's interesting. I think the people who took the last one and used it for a wall on the side of their wall shed probably wouldn't be dissuaded by higher poles.
Once to spend that sort of money and then the same thing happens next week.
I don't know that we can really go outside this. I mean, that's what they've applied for, so that's what they.
We're already going outside, but by giving them the whole amount that they've asked.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All those in favour? Anybody against? Carried.
You know, when we talked about that play centre and the minimum rent going to them, that would have covered things like that.
Yes.
And that's the point.
Yep. I'm not quite sure where that is up to, Kelly. Okay, so second one. Kelly moves that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approves the sum of blank to be paid from the board's community fund account to Hush Dance Studio for costs towards the dance showcase and dinner to support the following community outcomes: community that are healthy, safe, connected and sustainable and proud vibrant communities. Do I have a seconder?
Yep.
Okay. Right, Kelly, do you wish to do any discussion that is unsuitable for public domain in terms of privacy of natural people?
I do.
Okay, then you better make that motion.
Can we go, sorry, Renee, into that?
Okay, for what reason?
Free and frank discussion.
And the privacy of natural
People.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Okay, right. We'll even actually do that. in favour? Anybody against? Carried? Right. Cool.
What is it that we're not paying?
Explain how we should have to go with the number. Is that okay?
Thank you.
You just say your number, just explain how you got it?
Yeah.
Great.
We are online.
Okay, right. Are there any further discussion about this funding application? Okay, in that case, we'll put some numbers. How about we start with you, Kelly?
1,550.
Yeah, are you going to tell us how?
Yeah, so that I think will cover their full venue hire, $300 for sound and lighting, and $1,000 towards the opening Kaikohe group.
Great stuff. Okay, Laurie.
Yep.
1,550. John?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Emma? 2,000.
Two.
So two each?
Yep.
Okay, 1,550. Right.
Just one moment. So, did you want me to include that wording in the
No.
motion?
No, that's just our camera.
Okay, and I'll go 1,550. So the number is 1,550. So we put the motion as to the entirety that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board approves the sum of $1,550 plus GST applicable to be paid from the board's community fund account to Hushdown Studio for cost towards the Dutch Showcase dinner to support the Whananga community outcomes. Communities that are healthy, safe, connected, and sustainable, proud, vibrant communities. Do I, all those in favour? Anybody against? Carried. Okay, is there anything we have to do before we close the meeting?
We've got these trade reports.
I missed that, right?
Next item.
Good job I asked that. Thank you. Okay, item 6.3, project funding reports. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, we've got that.
Laurie, seconder? Sorry, Louis, sorry.
Yep.
Laurie. Okay, the motion reads, the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board note the following project received from Life Education Trust and anyone affected volunteering in Northland. Do I have a discussion?
No, happy.
I had a talk to the lady from the volunteer in Northland. You know,
Yes.
because I've been trying to get some of the stuff happening in the Hokianga. I've talked to some of the community groups that are there, but it's very hard to get extra volunteers in an area where there aren't very extra volunteers and everybody's looking for it. And those people that are volunteers are getting quite a lot older, you know, like we've got problems with the hall committee at the moment that maybe community board should be, you know.
Yeah.
So I'd like to figure out some way where we can utilise this. And I talked to her, sort of said, well, maybe I can come out to meet with these groups and things like that, you know, but I don't know how we can get more in the Hokianga, and for that matter, I don't know how much work they do in Kaikohe.
When you say Hokianga, which part of Hokianga?
Both sides.
Well, they don't use it on the other side.
I know, well, I won't say what the hall committee said, but the Hokianga Tourism Association, yeah, they would be interested in extra assistance. And so would Rara and Rawani, they would like extra assistance. But how they can get that is
Well, that volunteer in Northland lady is coming out next week,
Yeah, that's,
13th and 14th.
coming to where, Kaikohe?
She's coming, she's doing a loop, so yeah, she's going to fill in. But you do have to pay to belong to them too.
Oh, they do have the right to waive the fees.
Oh yeah, but they don't like to.
No, but there is that option.
I think that's a good option for this year. But I do wonder, Mr. Chair, whether we look at, it goes back to localism basically, and council look at, because they do have a statement which is supporting, you know, democratic wellbeing and localism. So I do wonder whether we should be actively pursuing means of providing input into and helping people step up to those jobs there in various forms.
Well, I guess the question is, does RARA, or do these community organisations know all the people, we know more people than volunteering in Northland anyway. I mean, that's the question, right? I mean, Rawene is only a fairly small place.
It's a small place and there's new people moving in and those that are willing get snapped up quite quickly, you know. One lady just becoming a paramedic now because we don't have an ambulance at the moment because they can only put one person in the ambulance. So the helicopter is making a lot more calls to the Hokianga and stuff like that.
You guys, isn't it? Go straight
Yeah,
to
yeah.
properly. Yeah.
Oh, that's much better than a 3-hour trip from around.
I know, it's much better. So you know, she got snapped up and she's involved in that. But, you know, on the whole committee, there's people there that are in their 80s.
But I guess if there's no volunteers, you can't get one out of the stone, right?
Well, it's a matter of, you know, like okay, people offer courses to try and train people up. They offer support for new volunteers and things like that. So, you know, if we can get you know, we're given money this year, we gave them money last year. I'd like to see us getting value for money in our communities.
Do you think a course out in Rawene would make a difference?
Well, that's one thing I talked to the lady about. I sort of said, well, I'm not sure how many people you would get in it. She sort of said, well, we could do it as a drop-in sort of type thing. And I sort of said, well, Chorus did really well when they came, they advertised their what do you call it, fibre. So they offered free coffee and drink, free tea and coffee, and free food at the #1 gallery, and lots of people showed up at that during the day. You know, they wanted to know, and they did it well. Council, on the other hand, they had the wastewater thing from Kaikohe, and there was no promotion, no advertising. There was a packet of biscuits available. You know,
What kind of biscuits?
They were chocolate thins or whatever they were.
No wonder they didn't get them. I would have come for toffee pops.
So, you know, it's you know, you've got to figure out, you know, what will get people out to do.
I'm wondering also whether or not there's a chance, if organisations need particular skills that are fairly low level, is it possible for the education, the Rawene campus, to apply for funding maybe from us to put on a little bit of a day where they can get some skills, whether they be roads, you know, like road skills or health and safety skills, that kind of stuff, where they become more valuable with the organisation. So
the biggest, yeah, both the Tourism Association and Rāngai have sort of said, you know, they need help with sort of secretarial work, with funding applications and sort of event organising. That's the big area where small communities are lacking in, you know.
I think it's a slightly bigger community than Rawene, but we still struggle with the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, exactly.
Speaking of,
I think we actually struggle throughout there. This is just in Rawene. Kaikohe is exactly the
I
same.
know, the whole.
Now,
This is broad, this is everywhere.
there was a thing a few years ago where funders you could add the cost of the funding application to the funding application, right? So if you paid somebody $500 to prepare your application, they would be quite happy for you just to slap it onto the funding application. But there's a bit of a risk there, right? Because what if you don't get the money? So I'm wondering whether, and you might be able to tell us, Catherine, is there a place for us as a board to give small funding, small amounts like $200 or $300 to groups who want to pay for someone to put a funding application to another party? So effectively, it's a leverage thing. You know, we give $200 and they might get $20,000 from somewhere else.
The problem is the lack of availability of people to do those applications at the moment. There was a couple who were trying to set it up and they got overwhelmed so quickly that they've just gone, we can't take anyone else on.
But they were being paid to do it, right?
I'm not quite sure how they were doing it. I think they were adding it onto the cost of...
Okay, and that's what I mean.
And that's what's up a consultant's fee, and they will do that.
But there's a bit of a risk. I mean, it's a contingency fee, right?
There's a risk too in that making funding applications is quite a specialist thing in a lot of ways. What we do here is we allow a lot of leeway, a lot of the big ones won't.
Yep.
So there's a risk of just putting the money out there and someone going, yeah, I'll do it for a couple of $100, and the applications aren't necessarily approved. This is something that we and our entire team are working towards, the community development, and we're hoping to be running more workshops this year for our communities to help them with that.
Mr. Chair, picking up on your earlier suggestion, I think I may suggest we've got that campus we pushed for, we've got ladies there that are willing to look at courses. If we did fund, if they happen to put in an application for a half-day workshop, looking specifically at community resilience and what can be done, because volunteerism is one of the issues of many, including small local jobs, including application for funding and council training. That would be another session.
This is a big one for it.
Although pulling something like that together may be a good way forward.
Yeah, although to be fair, I mean, funding applications for someone coming in blind, a whole day you want on that subject alone, wouldn't you?
We're actually saying to people, before you start putting your funding applications together, put a business plan together, because that will actually give them most of the answers that funding providers are asking for, because they're asking, well, what is your plan? How are you planning on doing it? And it gives a lot more focus. I would be more inclined to put funding into not the governance side of it, but the getting some of the business plan side of it. Like, it's a phrase I use, but it's the who are you, what do you want to do, and how do you want to do it. That's what the business plan is.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of ones struggle.
Yep.
And it would be really good. One of the things that I'm hoping to do is a series of workshops where we get people in the first half of the day that work on their business plans, and the second half of the day they present them, almost like a Dragon's Den type thing, to see how they can get themselves better, in a better position to apply for funding.
I like this. Well, see, another way of doing it perhaps would be, because I know there'll be a lot of tryhards. You know, I mean, if we give $1,000 or $500, like you say, but if we went kind of like a hybrid approach where we said to, because I think the Pioneer Village has got a lady who does the Rowan campus, Janet, what's the last name?
Nixon.
Janet Nixon, okay, who does kind of stuff and helps. But if we funded something like that to get the first hour to anybody who wanted it, because that wouldn't cost much, right? They come in there, she gives a quick report to us saying, look, I think I can work with that person, because they'll come, they kind of understand, and that way further funding would be going to people who had passed the first Dragon's Den hurdle, right?
Because we get a lot of ones going, well, I want to do all of this, but when it actually comes down to doing it, it becomes a gonna-do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it eventually.
Yeah.
It drags out. People are busy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's the best will in the world, but not everything can. People just don't have the time to do everything. So we could give them the money and still things don't happen. So it's okay, well, how can we put them in the best position to make things happen?
Yeah.
The other thing is sort of identifying the go-getters in the various communities. Like at Waimaku, they've got a couple of people there, which is Courtney, who's applied for money, and Rebecca and things like that. They've just raised $26,000 for the Westpac helicopter in Waimaku. You know, in Rawene, we've now got a recording studio at the campus. They raised $16,000 to get the recording equipment. The people that are doing the trees in Rawene, they just won an environmental award for the work they've done for growing all these trees. So you know, and this is happening at the campus. So there is things that are going on, and we need to be able to tap into those sort of things and try and encourage those things coming from all sorts of directions.
I think too, we have a lot of people who have moved into the district who, although they may not display it, have more wealth available than your average everyday bear, as it were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But a lot of them are sitting there going, they don't see the base is sturdy enough for them to say, actually, I want to give you $10,000 because I think this is going to work. Because they haven't got the basics in place. And if we can get more organisations with the basics in place, I think there could be more connections made with people who are willing to invest in the district.
Okay, so if we put together a breakfast or something like that, something like that, which we took and we found out all the people you've been talking about, the go-getters, and we asked them to put on a presentation of what they've done, and then we offer some kind of mentoring, or like an initial first hour or two where we can cross off the no-hoppers, the ones that the tryhards, and then we can maybe put a more focused amount of funding on those that passed the first two hurdles to improve the capability of the South Hokianga or the North Hokianga or whoever far they want to travel there.
I think it's a bigger conversation than just the community board. I think
yes,
I'd really like to bring Anna into this one as.
Well, Northern Link. I think we should be having this discussion with Northern Link. I mean, this is their area as well.
Yeah, and so I think it's bigger than just this room.
Oh no, and I fully expected that it would.
Yeah.
But
it would be good to have this as a first step. It's like, okay, well, this is, let's be honest, this is the most challenged ward in terms of inward economic development.
Yeah.
What can we do to change that?
Just so you know, we are still talking about project reports.
Yes, I was going to just okay. So what I'm going to do, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I think this is worth more discussion. So why don't we wrap this item up? All those in favour say aye. Okay, and we close the meeting. Meeting closed.
Just one moment.